Take it away whenever you're ready. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we could actually just play the audio in the very beginning to fade into,
What?
if you wanted to, of just you saying like, "Oh, you gotta go to me." It's good. It's good
Oh.
jargon, man.
Yeah.
They know we're professionals. That we're editing this.
Yeah.
We're behind this. It's our brainchild.
I'll figure it out.
We'll figure
Something
it
like
out.
that.
But I think this is even good. Good banter.
Yeah, good banter. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. We're here to talk about seeing Thor.
Yes.
Because I dragged Will to the theater finally to go see the new Thor movie.
Yes, you did. And we saw it. It was not as exhausting as I thought it would be. I'm going to be honest. I thought, I always say Taika Waititi and his humor is very exhausting for me. It
No.
surprisingly didn't exhaust me as much as I was expecting to. I was expecting to be wiped at this moment.
Was it because you were seething in anger over the movie?
I think-
Is that why you're not exhausted?
I think you might have something there, Jacob. I think that might be the code you cracked. Yeah, no, I didn't like this movie. I should just get right off the bat. I don't even know if we're going to bother with, no spoilers to spoiler-free territory.
Well, why don't we do 5 minutes of no spoilers, get our thoughts out, then people can either click away,
Great
go watch
idea.
the movie,
Great idea.
and then come back. So we have a hard stop of spoilers.
All right, so I did not like this movie almost at all. I think it has no redeeming qualities. I think it was a definitely wasted MCU entry. It just didn't do anything for me personally. I felt like the stakes were pretty low. The stakes didn't build to anything. I wasn't really a fan of anyone in the movie. We'll get into that. I didn't really like anyone. I will say Chris Hemsworth is an entertaining dude. I do like Chris Hemsworth in this movie, even though he's a doofus and
Yes.
kind of all over the board.
Did you like Christian Bale?
No, I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, I know. And everyone was like,
I differ from you on that. I think he did a good job in what he was given.
yeah. Oh, everyone says that. With what he was given, he was good, but
Yeah.
I didn't even like that. I thought
think
he was
it's
very...
a waste to have him play the role.
Oh, definitely.
Because it could have been anybody, because that character, Gore, the God Butcher, for being the enemy of the film,
Mm-hmm.
was not that no spoilers, but it wasn't in that much
No, he
for
wasn't.
you to think he's a
He
bad
might actually
guy.
have one of the least amount of screen times for a villain
I
at all.
yeah, other than the brief Thanos post-credit scene in Avengers.
No. Yeah, a post-credit scene is the only one that beats him. What I didn't, maybe it was, I don't want to be like, oh, he was British. His British accent kind of took it out of it for me. He felt very Disney-fied, almost like something out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or something. Like, it was a very cartoonish villain, and I would say it's basically a kid's movie. This is a kid's movie. This is not, anyone above the age of 12, I don't think could enjoy this movie.
No, I think anybody above the age of 18 could enjoy this movie.
You're going to give him 18, Jacob?
Yeah, I'll give
Why?
it-
Why? Why would you give him the extra 6 years?
Because it was you could sit down and have fun. I know me in high school, if I were to see this film in high school, I'd have fun with it.
Okay, then let's meet in the middle and let's say 15. 15, 16, 16.
17.
Fine. 16 is, if you can drive, that's your last time. You got your quinceañera, and then you get to see Thor, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think quinceañera is 15 though,
usually
but-
I am telling you that you're being a little too harsh on a movie, but
Okay, that was another thing I wanted to say. Okay, because if you're not, we've only had a few of these episodes out. It's not like we're a big channel with a great backlog. But right now, if you did listen to all of them, you're like, oh my God, this Will guy just hates everything. I'm sorry that we're only covering things I don't like so far. I didn't like this movie at all. I wouldn't recommend anyone to see it.
I mean, it's just the time that it came out. On the record, I didn't like. This is my second viewing of the movie, and the second viewing made me like the film less.
Oh, wow.
The first time I saw it, I was like,
Really?
it's not good, but I had fun.
Now, what was the time spent between the first viewing and second viewing, if you don't
I
mind me
saw
asking?
it Thursday night, the 7th,
Okay.
the opening night of the movie.
And then today's the 11th.
Yeah.
So maybe, do you think it was not spaced out enough, or do you think you wouldn't like it anyway in the second time?
No, I don't think I would have liked it. I don't think I'll probably watch this film again.
Well, oh, wow. I like that.
I mean, maybe on a Marvel rewatch,
Well,
but
that's what I was going to say, is that kind of Marvel has that thing, especially for me, is that no matter how much I like it when I first see it, when I finally get it on Blu-ray or something and watch it again, I'm like, oh man, I really enjoyed this significantly more the first time I
Yes.
watched it.
Yeah.
Like, it is a harsh drop-off for every MCU movie I've ever seen.
Iron Man?
Phase 1 excluded. I can watch Phase 1 because it like has a special place in my heart.
Ant-Man?
Ant-Man, I'm a sucker for it. Don't know why. But like
Guardians?
Guardians had that for me. I loved Guardians when it came out. It was probably my number one
I
for
can
a
see
long
that being
time.
Guardians too, but first Guardians pretty good.
It holds up, but it's nowhere near what the fun I was having the first time I saw
Yeah.
it. The first couple
I
times
remember
I
the
saw
first
it,
time I saw it too.
I
It was-
loved that movie, and
Yeah.
then it really had a drop off. So it's been a while since I've seen it, just because it doesn't grab my attention. But I would say this is a kids movie, and it just reminded me in the same vein of another superhero movie that did it better, because Shazam. Shazam is a kids movie basically.
Yeah, it had the humor that this film was trying to go for.
And I could just see kids wanting to see this movie or
Yeah,
something.
and adults could also have had fun watching Shazam.
Mhm.
I had fun.
Oh yeah, Shazam was a good family movie, but this Love and Thunder is a
Mess.
kids movie. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
That's a good way of
That's
putting
a good
it.
way to put it. Chris Hemsworth, he's
He's
he-
entertaining.
yes.
he's an
you will
entertaining
like
dude.
you will like seeing him. Natalie Portman, don't know why they brought her back.
Oh my god, I don't want to go too hard in the paint on Natalie Portman. I thought she was awful in this movie. I
yeah,
thought
and
she
I don't
was
think it was
terrible.
her. I don't think it was her fault.
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe she just can't do comedy, because she really
Well,
didn't do
yeah.
anything.
Yes. We'll get into that in the spoiler section. But so Natalie Portman, don't know why she was in the movie. Christian Bale could have been anybody, but he did a good job.
I disagree. I think I didn't like him.
Did you not like him because of the I thought his performance was good.
No, I actually didn't like his performance. I thought his performance didn't fit into the movie. He did this really
Well, that's the thing.
but he
I
did
don't
this
think
ki-
this
this-
movie knew its tone
perfect. No, and-
because it wanted to be a comedy film,
Dude,
but
this-
it wanted to have serious moments.
oh my god.
It just because it's Gore. They try to make Gore a serious character in this movie that's all comedy.
Yes. Here's the thing. Okay, when you say like tone, the entire movie is a slapstick comedy, except when they are fighting Christian Bale's character, Gore.
Yes.
If they're fighting that character, it's like, oh, okay, now we're watching an
It's
action
like
movie,
an
kind
MCU
of high stakes.
film when Gore's on the screen.
Yes, but I mean, the entire rest of the movie doesn't take a moment seriously.
Mm-mm.
It is insane. I felt almost like disassociation about 30 minutes into the movie of like, what am I watching right now? I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah,
It definitely didn't feel like a movie.
yeah. Taiki Waititi forced himself, it seems like, in this film.
I forget. Yeah, Korg. How can we not mention Korg? I think we want to not mention him. That's why.
And then that's basically
Dude, the
all the
plot.
main character. Oh, Valkyrie.
Valkyrie was in
I don't
there.
mind Valkyrie.
She wasn't bad.
because
She wasn't bad.
her tone stayed the same from the third film.
She was a lot closer to her character than anyone else that we previously seen. But it's still, I just didn't work well together.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. If this was like the film also to like start phase 4, I think it would also been a little more forgivable,
Definitely.
because this is coming out in what I think is supposed to be like,
The halfway mark.
I think a little over the halfway mark.
And we still don't know what this phase is about.
Exactly.
It is a mess.
And this movie does nothing to progress
No.
anything outside this film,
And you know what? Let's stop.
as far as we know.
Yes. And I say let's stop kind of stepping on eggshells. Let's go full spoiler. Let's go full spoiler and let's just talk about this movie.
Both of us didn't like it.
Both of us didn't.
We're about to go full spoiler.
Now, I know it's very.
so if
it's
you don't want spoilers,
this is a Marvel movie. Everyone's
I
seen this
know.
movie.
but
This
for
is already.
that odd chance that our very small audience has not seen the film yet, pause, go watch it,
Get
and then
back
come
to us.
back.
Also, I think it already recouped its box office or its budget. The box office has already recouped its budget. It's a
Oh, yeah.
success. I wonder if it's going to break the $1 billion mark.
No,
You
I
don't-
think.
okay.
Well, it's the summer, maybe.
See, here's the thing too. Is
So are we going?
Yes, we're
All
going
right,
full
all right,
spoiler.
and we're going spoiler.
Okay, here's the thing. is for the longest time, I think the reason why it wasn't exhausting for me was because this movie, I couldn't even bring myself to care about enough to dislike it at a certain point. But then after a certain point, I was getting a little antsy. I wanted to leave the theater. I'm like, I want this movie to wrap up.
You kept on looking over at me, and I was like, he wants to leave.
And I'm like...
And you were just like, what is going on?
And then when it hit that mark, I'm like, okay, I do not like this movie. It's definitely... I can't believe... after everything we just said, it's still not my least favorite Marvel movie.
What's your least favorite?
My least
Did we
favorite...
ever talk about that?
My least favorite's either Captain Marvel or Black Panther.
I don't get the Black Panther part.
Far From Home's down there, too.
I don't get that either. Captain Marvel is definitely the worst MCU film.
See, but here's the thing. Now, here's what saves Love and Thunder for me. Is, you know how I said Chris Hemsworth's entertaining?
Yes.
He is. And so you're not bored watching
You
it.
definitely are not bored while he's on screen. You don't hate his comedy.
Nope.
But...
It's just, it's
too
tonally a
much.
mess.
It's... I love when he's being somewhat serious.
Yeah.
Like, there were a couple moments in this film where he was somewhat serious, and it was great. Have more of those moments. Don't have him be this doofus the entire movie.
It was.
You can have him have doofus moments. Like, in the slow parts of the film, have him do a doofus moment, make the crowd laugh, keep him entertained while you're trying to move the story along.
Mm-hmm.
But just having him be a doofus the entire time just, like, annoys you because I get they shift tones of Thor from Thor 2 to Thor 3. I get that. But Thor 3 was not as bad
No.
of him just being a doofus the entire film as Love and Thunder was.
I completely agree. This almost made me appreciate a lot more of, I think, what Marvel's leash on Taika Waititi and Ragnarok had.
Yeah.
Because Ragnarok, after seeing this movie, I'm like, wow, that actually really achieved in actually, like, building a story and having a tonal, just being a fun movie to watch.
Yes.
I didn't like how much he was a doofus in that, but in this one, it's like, it's just crazy. Especially considering almost everyone knows it's a comedy this time around.
Yes. I guess, yeah, they could have done more comedy this time because Ragnarok was like, people liked it.
Yeah, they were kind of dabbling in and out of like serious stuff and
doing the comedy.
it was a better balance in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
In this one, it's like every joke they can say, they
force
will
it in.
say.
Oh my god, that stupid joke when Valkyrie, like they're about to go battle Gore for the first time, and Natalie Portman and Tessa Thompson, like, did you pack? And they're like, yeah.
Oh my!
And she brings out the thing that looks like a grenade, and she's like, no, portable speaker.
Portable speaker.
Why?
But, dude, this is another thing. Is the comedy in Ragnarok was almost all like dialogue based.
Yes.
This one, there are literal sight gags.
Yes.
And it's very cheap. Like, there are almost cheap jokes in there where they're hard cutting from a sword to two daggers to a grenade that's a boombox or something. It's a mess. Like, the jokes aren't even well constructed.
Yeah. And going to your point of, like, cheap jokes, I feel like the entire film was cheap.
Yep. It felt...
For as big of a movie, it's Thor. It's not a new character. You know they have the budget. Like, it wasn't a bad-looking film. It just... The scale felt so small.
Ragnarok looked a lot better. Just visually. It just looked a lot better.
But, like, it wasn't because the CGI was bad or anything.
No.
They did a ton of, I don't know, like, close-up shots where, like, Thor or any character on screen took up 70% of the scene. So why I'm saying it looked cheap is because... Or it looked small because, like, the scale was thrown off because all you see is 70% of the character at all times. And you don't see the rest of the scene at all. You don't get a... Like, when they went to... I can't say it. The God City.
Omnipotent City.
Yes, when they go to...
Omnipotent.
Yeah, something like that. When they go there, you expect that they're going to show off this, like, grand place. You see one wide shot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it.
And also,
the scale of the movie is, like, to me, just so small for such a big character.
Yes. And for those wondering when I disassociated with that movie, it's that scene when they go to Omnipotent City.
With the goats.
Yes. At that moment, I said, I don't know what I'm watching anymore. This is just insane to me.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, here's the thing. There's 2 minutes of seriousness in this movie. it starts with Christian Bale's character, and it's actually like dramatic. And then the second another character shows up on screen, it becomes comedic.
The movie starts with gore, and like, yeah, that God character.
Who was just weird to look at, and it's
I think
Taika
it was
Waititi.
Is it
It's not Taika Waititi. Sorry, it's just very
his
Taika Waititi-esque.
his directing style?
Yes.
But like that character was silly, but I liked what they were trying to do, like make the gods be like
Oh yeah.
it's a cool concept. Like, yeah, all the gods are fucking douchebags right now.
We might need a bleep if we
Oops.
choose to bleep.
But like they're all like I like that concept
Well-
where the gods are just so full of themselves.
Yeah.
But and then it goes from that scene to
Korg narrating all of Thor's past adventures,
yeah.
which I have two things to say about. Because with Gore, I don't know a lot about Marvel comics. I don't
Neither do
follow
I.
Marvel. I'm more of a DC guy personally. But I got familiar with who Gore was. Like, I think IGN had something about getting to know that character through the comics, and they explained his backstory. And after hearing it, of him being like a person who prayed to gods to help save him and his family, and then his family gets slaughtered or he loses his family, and then he vows to destroy all gods. I was like, that is a great villain for a Thor movie.
Great villain, and it would have been great if they just went with a serious tone.
Yes, and if you see comic panels of just how they draw Gore in the comics, I was like, this is going to be awesome. Like, this could be like the greatest Thor movie easily, just because of how great Gore is.
Because they could have opened it up where like Thor's kind of feeling good about himself being with the Guardians. I was a little disappointed the Guardians were gone in like 5 minutes.
They were very, very short.
Because I was really excited at the end of Endgame. I was like, seeing this Thor with Guardians, that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're doing a solo Thor, I kind of want to go back to serious Thor.
Oh yeah, definitely. You want stakes in your movie.
Yeah.
And when everyone's goofing off, you really don't have stakes. And that's the thing is when you said it opens with Korg narrating all his past adventures.
It took me out of it so much.
Yes, and what I hated was that it's literally like 10 plus years of Thor as a character, and they're just making a joke out of everything. And it's like, okay, well, you're just deflating this entire character from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
You're just making this character a joke.
And like, I would have been fine if they started out with a comedy,
Mm-hmm.
being with the Guardians, and then something happens with Gore, and it kills the comedy.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Dude.
Like, if they had, like, sprinkles of comedy throughout, but had a more serious film because it's Gore, cool.
But
Perfect.
see, that's the thing. When we talk about it being such a comedic film, because, yeah, it's them and the Guardians, and I like the dynamic between Thor and the Guardians. I thought was fun.
Yeah.
It's a bonkers planet, and it's just the set pieces, the characters you see, everything is just bonkers. Like, it just doesn't even feel real.
And it felt very James Gunnish,
Very.
that first scene with Thor and the Guardians, which, I mean, I don't know if he did it or not, but, like...
Oh, and this is not. Sorry, continue. I just had a thought.
But, like, when he was with the Guardians, it felt natural. It felt like what a Guardians movie would be like.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't hating Thor at that moment, but I was like, if they do this the entire time, it's going to be weird.
Yes, and you know what I just remembered? Here's the thing: even in Ragnarok, if you go to all the fight scenes in Ragnarok, they never do gags or jokes in those scenes.
Yeah.
In the very first Thor scene where he's fighting, it's filled with visual jokes.
It's all gags.
Yep.
They put the Welcome to the Jungle song.
Which I didn't even understand why there's so much Guns N' Roses in this movie.
Yeah, it was just because it's supposed to be like 80s.
Well, I don't even
But
know.
I didn't even get like, because like that's what the logo looks like.
Oh, which, by the way, I disagree. It should not be called Love and Thunder. I know why it's called Love and Thunder. We'll get to that. But I thought a better title for the movie is, there's a DC animated movie just called Justice League Gods and Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Gods and Monsters would be such a better subtitle to this Thor movie.
Yeah, because it's like a double-edged sword, because they're saying gods
Are monsters.
are monsters.
Gore could be conceived as a monster. He has shadow monsters.
Yeah.
Just call
that
it
would've been
Gods.
such a better name.
And then there's multiple gods in this movie, which we will also talk about later on. But with this movie being such a mess tonally as well, they introduce Jane Foster back pretty early on. And this is the first time we see her since The Dark World, which is 2013. So it's been
Yeah.
9 years since
And you
we've
see
seen
picture of her in Endgame.
a picture.
Yeah,
Wow, I didn't
that's
even know
it.
that.
That's the last time we see.
But then they bring up Jane Foster, and I know they did this in the comics. She's suffering from cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and in a movie that's been like pretty goofy and jokey tonally.
And then they hit you with the cancer.
Yeah, and it's not like sorry, but like cancer is a very real thing many people have to
Yes.
go through.
Yeah.
She's in stage 4. Like this is a pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, and they don't even say the cancer, which is also a little weird.
It's a little strange considering the subject matter. And that's the thing. I know that Marvel doesn't really ever talk about serious subject matter. It just left a bad taste in my mouth how they actually handled such a real thing with such little nuance or delicacy. I didn't enjoy that part. It just felt very strange to me to see this in the movie.
Yeah, it was weird that they used it as a plot point, but didn't want to talk about it.
Yes, and I think that's what bothered me is it felt very like a plot device to get her to get to use Mjolnir.
They could have done some weird like space disease or something.
I think they should have just done something better. I understand the comics did it. Maybe it played better in the comics. It just felt very weird to me that it was a plot point. I don't want to dwell on it too much in the podcast because I know it's like a heavy subject. I just felt since it was a heavy subject to be in such a bad, goofy Marvel movie, it was kind of in bad taste and it didn't really play out very well.
Yeah, and I think if they would have just, because they kind of like the cancer only came up 3 times in the
Yep.
beginning, at a point in the middle to show that the cancer was still there,
Yeah.
and then obviously her dying at the end of the film.
Yeah. But I
3 times that cancer really came up. You don't know what cancer. They just brush it off right away.
and here's the thing, I just thought about this because it didn't even have to be cancer. It could have been like a side effect of being possessed by the ether in the Dark World. Just
easily,
so you
because
don't
then it
have
would
to
make-
deal with this.
And it would make more sense from the MCU. I get.
Definitely.
I don't know the comics, so maybe she. I don't. Does she have cancer in the comics?
Yeah, I know. I
Okay.
think that was a plot point.
So, but like they could have changed it to because yeah, exactly. She was possessed by the ether.
This is a
She
side effect.
got
She's dying.
Yeah, and it would make sense for the Viking space magic to help,
Yeah, and then
and why
oh,
she would
you're
go
right.
that route.
Yeah, and like they don't even have to say. They just say no one can cure her because we don't know this. This is ether.
Yes.
We don't understand this. This is an Infinity Stone on a mortal. Because just to have such heavy subject matter and not deal with it
Mm-hmm.
with any delicacy, very poor taste in my opinion.
And they're probably gonna like. There's probably gonna be some like someone's gonna come out and say like, oh yeah, she got cancer because she was possessed by the ether. But they could have just been like,
We don't
"Yo,
know what's
why,
happening
why
to
call
her.
it cancer?
Just call side
If you're
effects
not
from
gonna
the ether.
address the cancer fully,
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's the weird. Yeah, but we can move on from this. Fortunately, I just
But-
wanted to say that because
yeah,
it did not.
on
it
the
did not sit
topic
well.
of like Natalie Portman and Jane Foster,
I
though,
was gonna. Yeah,
her tonal change.
it was awful.
Like you get a glimpse of it in the first scene when she's doing chemo with that guy,
and I wanted to mention something they were doing in that scene, which is so weird. But yeah, continue.
where she shows him like the Rosen Bridge.
That's exactly what I was going
and
to talk
uses
about.
like it was a little weird to hear from that, but I was like, we haven't seen her in forever. Maybe she's going a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because obviously she's sick. Because it wasn't like funny. It just seemed weird.
Well, no,
like
that-
her going a little
Exactly.
nuts.
But that's what I wanted to talk about because I just don't, and I don't mean to begin so hard on Natalie Portman. I just don't think she can do comedy. Like Chris
Yeah.
Hemsworth is very good at comedy,
Yes.
surprisingly so. Where she, I think, struggles with it because when she did that thing that every science fiction movie does, which is she bends a piece of
And then
paper and then
pokes the hole
pokes
through.
yeah, with a pencil
to
I'm
show
like,
how a black hole
hole
works.
works. And I'm like, every movie does this. Are they making fun that every movie does this, or because
Is
it didn't?
this as a character actually doing this?
Because she even references other movies. I'm like, is this supposed to be a joke? Because you see it all the time, and it just didn't play. And then when you see her, I mean, I know a lot of improv happens, or they say a lot of improv happens, and people just believe it on these movies. And almost all the times, like when she's coming up with her catchphrase, like
Those seem so weird and out of place and awkward
Oh.
and horrible catchphrases to like anyone out of 5 years old could come up with something better.
But like she was trying to go for the joke,
Yeah.
and her tone just wasn't hitting. Her timing wasn't right.
And it just the tonal shift from the last time we saw her in 2013 to now, it's just weird. It just felt weird.
Also, her character had comedy moments and jokes in the other movies,
But
and they never were weird.
But it was a completely different kind of jokes.
Exactly. Different kind of comedy.
Because her comedy always played off that one character.
Kat Dennings.
Yes.
Who was good.
Yeah, and she made an appearance in this film.
For 15 seconds.
Yeah, because she got her Phase 4 appearance in WandaVision.
I didn't know that. But I think Natalie Portman struggles with comedy. I know the only other movie I could think of off the top of my head she did was Your Highness, which I never seen.
Yeah.
But I know she's not very, into that genre. Maybe she just struggles with it. But that's another thing is I know Chris Hemsworth is so good at comedy. I wish that he went out and tried to do a more goofy character instead of making Thor become gradually and more goofy.
Like went and did another film.
Yeah, do another franchise.
Yeah.
Like Men in Black. Maybe it would have been better in Men in Black.
Well, he did it. Did you watch that?
No,
one?
I haven't.
Oh, like he was good in that. Like that works.
Great. It's because he's surprisingly good
Yeah,
at
he's
playing the
funny.
goofball.
He's funny and entertaining. Like I love it. I hope because they set up a Thor 5.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
It's a little more serious.
I hope. I mean, so here's the thing, and this is the weird thing: is the plot felt almost thin, and it just felt like it was going nowhere.
It felt okay. The first act, very fast.
Yeah.
The second act
takes its time.
Woo!
It is stretched
so
out.
Like the first act's
my God.
30 minutes. The second act is an hour. I think like an hour.
Yeah.
And then the third act, 15 minutes.
Yes, you're completely right. I was going to say that because just when you said that, you're right. That's why the movie feels so weird.
Yes.
The second act, it takes them forever to decide what to do after their new Asgard is attacked.
But it's not. They don't even take forever to find out what they're going to do. They know what they're going to do. It just takes them forever.
You know why? Is because it's loaded with jokes. You had this really weird. I don't even know how to. It was almost a skit. It was like a single cam skit of going through Jane and Thor's love with an ABBA song going on in the background.
Okay, but I like that scene.
It was hilarious. It was the only scene that I enjoyed.
Not for the hilarity. I like that scene because Thor in that moment, he was a little bit of a goofball, but at the same time serious.
Yep.
Like I loved when he was like, the comedy bit in that was I want to feel shitty. That was the comedy bit, and I love that fit. That comedy fit. It was funny, but it was also you're like, man, I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah.
So, like, I wish they would do more like that. Like, you can have the comedy in there. You can have him say, I want to feel shitty. That's funny for Thor to say.
Especially because Chris Pratt said that, and that's a very Star-Lord line.
Yeah.
Him trying to tell him what being in love is like.
Yeah, so, like, when I thoroughly enjoyed that scene for that moment, because he was still kind of like a goofball, but he was also, like, hurting, and you felt that.
Yep.
And it just, because Chris Hemsworth can do it, I just wish they would let him do it. I know he wants to do the comedy because he's having fun.
Exactly.
But, like, you're an A-list actor. Like, you bring people to this movie. You can make this movie so good. And he made this movie good.
He did. He was the best part of the movie.
But,
But that's the thing is, like, I like that scene. I had mixed feelings about it because
it starts off weird.
It starts off so weird.
Yes.
But it was like you never see that side of superhero where it's him literally just having a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
But the way it was shot was so out of sync with the rest of the movie. So
Yes.
it was like, okay, I enjoyed it, but it's pretty weird to be just put in there for 3 minutes in a movie.
And that was towards the end of the second act, before they have the end of the second act battle where the hero always loses.
Oh, wait. Are we talking about the same scene? Oh,
The
no, you're
boat scene.
No, not the boat scene. I was talking about the scene where they were like going through the highlights of their relationship, and it was like them talking about who's doing the dishes.
With Taika Waititi narrating over it.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause-
I mean, I like that montage,
It was just
but you don't need a narration.
Yes, and it just felt out of place, but I enjoyed it. But it was weird, all that stuff. So in the second act, they're like, okay, well, this is why I think also Christian Bale's villains like was so chitty bang bang Disney-fied is because he literally just kidnaps the kids of New
The
Asgard.
kids thing was weird.
It was a very weird plot point. He just took all the kids.
Like, it made sense because he's like, I need to get Thor separated.
Well,
So, like, it made sense that he took the kids because it's something to get him.
but then this is the thing: is it's a completely redundant, or it conflicts with his entire psyche, which is that gods don't care about people.
Yes.
And by doing this, he literally shows
yeah.
that Thor cares about
There's
people.
a lot of contradictions in this movie because another contradiction is that because in that same montage you were talking about, it shows that Thor talked to the hammer and was like, promise me you'll always protect her. So meaning that the hammer is going to make Jane better.
Yeah.
And that's why the hammer went and sought Jane out for the cancer. But it turns out the hammer's killing her.
It's
So, like, why set up that? Like, I get you had to set up a reason why Jane all of a sudden would be worthy
yeah.
for Thor. It's because Thor told the hammer to protect her at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
But then also make it that the hammer's killing her. Because it's not like she sought out the hammer for greed or anything. So, like, I mean, she was kind of greedy because she wanted to live. But that's not, like...
It's like, what should... like Captain America was still mortal. Did the hammer affect him when he used it?
Yeah,
It's a very strange plot point that you brought up.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing to have the hammer be killing her because it's taking her mortal strength.
Right, but it just... I noticed that right away. I'm like, okay, Gore's whole thing is that gods don't care about people, but he knows from the get-go Thor is one of the good gods.
I didn't think of that while watching the movie, and now that pisses me off.
Well, I'm just confused because, like, Gore seems like a very principled person.
Yes.
And, like, if you do not care about people, he'll, like, okay, you're not worthy of being a god, I'll kill you. But him seeing how much Thor cares about people, I thought he would be like, okay, I won't kill you, I respect you.
You are so right. Unless he's just like, well, yeah, he's one of the good ones, but I said all gods gotta die.
But that's just weird to me. Because if anything, he was praying to a god to help him.
Yes.
And he's basically meets a god who actually cares about people.
And is going to help them. If they would make it so, like, he was trying to make a point that Thor's only doing it for himself and not to actually save the kids.
Right.
That would have been that would have made sense with his ideals, but
Thor is completely selfless in this movie.
Yeah, they made it, and they weren't trying to be like, oh, Thor's doing it because he's Thor and that's what Thor does. He's doing it because he actually, like, the movie betrayed it that he actually cares about the kids.
Exactly.
Because Heimdall's son is in that group of kids, and he seems like he genuinely cares for his son.
Yes.
So, like, yeah, I'm pissed off now.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed it right away. I'm like, I don't understand, because he's literally a god that you wish you had. That's what you're saying? Is that Gore is all upset because the god he praised in the beginning didn't care about him.
Yes.
And I'm not going to hammer this point anymore. It was very contradictory. And so after him kidnapping all the kids, they decide to raise a god army, Thor and his friends. They say, oh, there's this giant city, which I don't even know if it's in the comics or not. It is out there. Know. It is weird. This idea is weird.
It's just like a golden city where all the gods are hiding?
But here's the thing is I thought they were going to go to Mount Olympus because I thought that's where the gods live. No, they go to this weird far-off place called Omnipotent City. And the thing is, too, I just want to point this out because in the first couple of Thor movies, early on in MCU, they make a decision saying these are aliens that people thought were gods.
Yes.
And in this movie, they're straight up saying, no. Thor is a god, and there is a pantheon of gods. Every god out there is a part of the MCU.
Yeah, you kind of get that feel of the switch in Thor Ragnarok.
I suppose I didn't pay much attention to that. I didn't feel it in Thor Ragnarok.
When Hela came,
I felt like it was still alien-like because they made a point of saying that.
Yeah, that was definitely the part in the first Thor movie because I think they wanted to keep it realistic.
Yeah,
but I think it's just Marvel's hubris. Coming out, and they're like, well, we can get away with anything now.
Yeah, they really do, and they really can.
I mean, they can still, if they just say gods are a certain type of alien.
Well, no, because the gods are a deity, and Gore is a god butcher. That's the thing. For Gore to be a character, gods need to be literal deities.
I guess, yeah.
And so that's why it's a mess. Another plot hole. Do with it what you will.
All this film does is make it confusing for me.
Well, At Omnipotent
Because
City,
be- uh,
you get to see.
another thing in
Okay,
Marvel
what?
that I don't get, a little rant. In this movie, in the city,
Omnipotent City.
a character talks about human sacrifices.
Yes.
Are humans everywhere in the universe in the MCU?
Oh my God. I
And
didn't even
why
think
does-
about that.
And why does everyone speak English? Like especially in the second view, and I just was thinking that with like Gore
Yep.
in the beginning of the movie. I was like, wait, is he human? Is this on Earth? Is this in the past? Because I didn't in the second viewing. I was like, oh, this is happening concurrently with what's happening in the MCU. So I was like, so he's not human.
Yep. No.
So I was very weak. I just started going off in my head, just like, are humans everywhere?
Shoot, no, that bothers me because they said human, but then Korg is there, and Korg's deity is at Omnipotent City.
Which he was sitting on a Game of Thrones gag too. Did you see that?
No, I don't know Game of Thrones, so I didn't pick
So
up
he
on
was
that.
sitting on the Iron Throne, where instead of swords, it's scissors, because rock beats scissors.
Jeez,
so like,
of course.
yeah, it's funny,
No, but I didn't
but I
pick
don't
up on that.
expect to see that kind of gag.
Yeah, see,
they're making a meta gag.
dude, this entire movie's a gag.
They bring up
I mean-
Interstellar and Point Horizon. Is that
Event
the-
Horizon.
Event Horizon. I don't know why I messed it up. But they bring up those movies, meaning
Oh my God.
those movies exist in the MCU, which
Shoot.
I'm assuming then Game of Thrones exists in the MCU.
Well, I think
which, why is the Korg sitting on
here's the thing. Now you
an
got
Iron Throne?
now you got a gag that bothers me, man, because they bring up Event Horizon. I haven't seen the movie. I've seen the poster. I think Sam Neill is in this movie.
Okay.
Sam Neill plays the on-stage Odin because they do the same gag that they did in Ragnarok.
Oh, and you went to the bathroom. They made it worse.
Oh my God! Oh God! Oh
Because they made Matt Damon and his brother,
yeah.
like they're like play directors.
Oh, okay.
So when everything's like, because you left in the scene when
I know I should have watched it on my phone before we started.
City Hall was like everyone was like, go get our kids, like save our kids.
Yeah.
They come up to Valkyrie and like, can we do a play on this?
Oh
and
my
then she
God!
just stares at them and then walks away. And Matt Damon and Chris Hemsworth brothers like, she didn't say no. So like, yeah, I mean, yeah, like, it felt like I liked it in Thor Ragnarok, that gag, because it felt
It
in
new.
place.
It was new. You never saw
It
it
was
before.
new. You never saw it before. It kind of made sense. Loki was being Loki.
Whenever you do the same gag twice, it's less funny. And they did it, and they doubled down on it. I even knew it was going to happen when they did, oh no, a portal is showing up. And I went, oh no, who's it going to be? And it was freaking Melissa McCarthy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, they did the same gag again. And here's another thing. If you remember in Ragnarok, maybe you saw Matt Damon as Loki for what, 30, 40 seconds?
Yeah,
In this movie, it's like 3 minutes. It's a 3-minute skit.
I wouldn't call it 3 minutes.
2 minutes.
I would call it a minute and a half.
It was okay, fine, but could you?
But-
it was a long. It
And
was
to
a
the-
skit in
Yes,
the middle of a
and
movie.
to the point of you saying it's pointless in this film, it didn't move the story along at all.
No.
All it did was recap what happened in the third one. At least in the Thor Ragnarok, it moved the story along.
Yes.
Thor came back to
Asgard.
and was like, what's going on?
And Loki was Odin. It was showing
Yeah.
how Loki was so enamored with himself, making himself look like the hero.
Yes.
In this one, it was a complete gag for gag's sake.
Yes, and it did move the story along. It was there to be funny because people liked it in Thor Ragnarok.
Yep. And here's the thing. That's why the second act takes so long, is because it just takes its time and nothing happens. It takes so long for the plot to pick back up again.
Yeah.
They go to Omnipotent City, and then they see all these gods. And then you hear Thor talk about how much of a fan he is about Zeus because he's the wisest and oldest of all the gods.
The cool plot point be like, oh, Thor obsessed over Zeus as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's made him like want to be a not good god, but like a great god. Yada yada. Cool.
Maybe they took a family trip to Greece. Like
Yeah.
they're doing a gag for everything. They didn't
Yeah,
do a
well-
gag for that.
Yeah, like, it makes sense him being obsessed with Zeus because
lightning,
God of lightning,
thunder.
Yeah, it makes sense, and they could
It could have been great. It could have been great.
Could have been great.
And here's the thing: Russell Crowe plays Zeus, and gold member, as Jacob calls him. I would say this is his audition tape to steal the role from Chris Pratt of Mario. Because he shows up and he's like, well, hello, everybody.
So you thought it sounded Italian, too?
It sounded so Italian, Jacob.
Oh. Uh-oh.
What's going on? We're still recording. We're still recording, don't worry. Oh, okay, this just popped out.
Oh, okay.
Great. But we can keep this in because they care about this, I'm sure. But, dude, it sounded so Italian.
Yeah.
It's a
so when I was talking to you about the movie before you saw it, after I saw it, and before I convinced you to come to the movie, I was like, there's a character in this film whose accent does not make sense. He's got a great voice, Russell Crowe.
Just have him play himself.
Just have him do his voice. But I guess they were going for to make. I don't like.
For everything they were making a joke.
To make a joke, to make it look like the gods are just like so full of themselves, he could have still been like an omniscient god. I don't know how to say it.
Omnipotent.
Yeah. It's a hard word to say, people. But make him feel like a powerful god that just doesn't care.
That's another thing. He didn't have any grandiose. He was all just like, hey, it's me. What's going on? Gotta make it the pizza.
And he was grandiose in the fact that he was making a grand show for all the other gods because he's the best god, I guess. And all the other gods are literally chanting Zeus, Zeus, Zeus.
We'll talk about Jags. They had a dumpling god there for some reason.
Don't bring it up.
That was straight out of the Lego movie. It really was
weird.
It was, but even like everything about it, the timing, everything was straight out of the Lego movie.
If this was like a Ryan Reynolds Free Guy type film, all of this stuff would have worked.
Yes, Free Guy. That is the only. You're right. I was trying to think. Is there any comedy where this comedy would actually make sense? Free Guy is the only one I could think of right now.
Great. If something random popped up,
you're like, that was random and funny.
Yes.
In this one, you're like, what's going on here?
Why is there a dumpling that's animated? Oh.
And so they sort of fight. So Zeus doesn't want to get involved because Gore can kill them all, and he's like, well, I don't want to get killed.
And he's like, they're trying to portray that Gore's actually a threat. When in the fight that we see him early in, Thor handles him.
Well, yeah,
I don't know if it's him holding back because his plan was to get the kids. I don't know, or if Thor forced him to get the kids.
We'll talk about it because I'm confused, but we'll bring it up. But the weird thing is too, literally everything about Zeus is a joke. Even the way he walks, the way everything.
How he flicks his skirt up so he can walk down.
It's a robe. It's a toga. I don't know.
It's a skirt.
It's a skirt. They made it a skirt.
Because he was wearing like a gold chest plate, so it just looked like a skirt.
It was terrible. The whole thing was a joke. They fight Zeus, and then
it wasn't a fight. They fight his cards, and then he throws his lightning bolt at Korg, seemingly killing him.
Mm-hmm.
So Thor gets pissed. Then Zeus is like, "You're next, Thor," which is stupid. Then throws his lightning bolt. I mean, I guess it's his hubris.
Well,
and then Thor catches it, throws it back,
and
seemingly killing
Zeus straight through the chest. And in true MCU fashion, you're like, wow, they just killed Korg. No, they didn't.
No. Well, immediately. No, I think this was more of Taika Waititi being like, no, I'm in this film the entire time.
Yeah.
I can't sit out any point of this film.
When he finally died, Korg, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now we can really focus on making the plot or making the tone really serious.
It gets serious. Okay, if they would have done that.
But no, because they just pulled a Groot where you thought Groot died, but then he just turns into.
But at least the Groot thing was at the end of the film.
Yep.
So like,
this is halfway through.
It's halfway through, and then he's just there for gags.
Yep.
Because he can't fight.
He can't do anything. Oh, he's a talking head.
Yes.
And so
because Taika Waititi is a god himself. That.
Dude, here's the one good thing about this is that for years I've been saying I don't like Taika Waititi and his comedy. I didn't like Ragnarok, and people are like, Ragnarok was good, it was fun, blah 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 blah. And now after seeing this, people are like, keep him away from Thor 5, please.
I'm terrified. I don't know if people are saying that.
I saw it on Twitter. So
okay.
What are you gonna do?
I'm terrified about the Star Wars trilogy.
Oh my god, I didn't. How do I I keep forgetting everything about Star Wars.
I wasn't
Taika's doing a Star Wars movie?
apparently, and he asked Natalie Portman to be in it.
Oh, God.
Well, I saw that on the internet. I saw
Well,
a
now
bunch
I'm
of videos
terrified of it.
where there was like he apparently he asked Natalie Portman to be in his Star Wars trilogy, and Natalie Portman was like,
I've already been in them.
yeah. So like either that's a bad joke,
Dude.
or I'm severely scared
Dude, well,
because after Ragnarok I was like, okay, he can direct a major film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was comedy film,
Mhm.
but he did an action film. He can do a Star Wars. It'll be different because it's Star Wars. But now I'm scared.
If he can resist the urge to make 90% of things gags, then I don't know how.
I don't want him to put himself in the film. If he puts himself in any of those
Oh
films,
my God. Well,
he needs to stop doing that.
Yeah, but
he
here's the thing.
cannot-
Oh God.
Like, why can't he not be in a film? Because he's in all of the stuff that
Yeah.
he does, right?
Well, yeah, because I think he started out as a comedic actor, and so he.
But that makes sense. But like, he's not a bad director in the sense of his style. I mean, this movie was
It's
bad.
fine. It's
Yeah,
fine. It's new. It's fresh.
Yes,
It's fine.
he can do a major film and be fine. That's what I was thinking of before this film, and now I'm terrified.
Well-
I don't want him to do a Star Wars trilogy. End of my rant because I want to get back to the movie,
Yeah.
but I am scared.
So yeah, Korg gets finally Korg gets dismembered. He becomes a head, and then Valkyrie ties her to the back of his head. Everything's a joke. It was just a joke of a fight. Everything's a joke.
It's a
So
joke.
so far, you've had like 3 fights in the movie. None of them are particularly good. And then you go to the Shadow Realm, which was kind of weird. But they take this boat, which we didn't even talk about the boat. The boat's
We
just
don't need to talk about
yeah.
the boat.
It's just it's another dumb gag. That's all you need
Another
to know.
dumb gag is the axe being jealous of Thor wanting the hammer.
Yeah. It's just,
making it seem like they're like sentient beings.
Yep, and look, if we were talking about the gags, we'd be here all night. So we gotta put a pin in it at some point.
So the end of the second act, an hour and a half into the movie, it seems like.
Well,
I think it's actually an hour.
This is
and 20
nearing the
minutes.
end. Nearing the end of the second act is them going to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
The end of the second act is an hour and 20 minutes into this film
Of a 2-hour movie,
of a 2-hour movie, which 15 minutes of it is credits.
dude. It is
Like,
so annoying.
I like the fight.
That's the best part of the movie because they go to the Shadow Realm and they drain all the color from the screen. I'm like, wow, I actually like this decision. This is
Yes,
very cool to
this
look at.
artistic decision was great.
Even though you had to
It
do
looked cool.
a terrible, dumb, annoying, terrible dialogue boat ride to get there.
Yes.
Once they were there, you're like, oh my God, this is finally serious.
Yes.
And then it got serious for maybe 10 minutes, and it was black and white. I still didn't find Christian Bale very good. He just didn't land for me. Okay,
He landed for me.
His performance didn't land for me. That's all I can say. And they fight on like a moon-like surface.
Yeah.
He summons shadow monsters for Valkyrie and Jane to fight, while Thor just gets a one-on-one with Gore.
Which, that one-on-one, dope.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
But then you have to cut to a screaming goat picking up Korg's head, and I'm like, what's going on right here?
Hey, we said we were done talking about the gags.
I'm not talking about the gags. This is in the middle of a
That was
fight.
a gag.
It takes you out of the fight. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. Anyway, he uses the Bifrost. Apparently, you find out that Gore is
That-
trying to go to
Oh my god, dude.
what?
That plot point. That also makes me angry. Because
So, for you that don't know, Gore needs the Stormbreaker to activate the Bifrost to go to a place called Eternity to grant his wish to kill all the gods.
the first person to eternity gets their wish.
Wish.
Which I don't know if that's in the comics because I don't know Marvel that well. But okay. That they established that with Zeus.
Yep.
Zeus says he'll never reach eternity because he doesn't have the key. Why is Stormbreaker the key?
I know it only
Why
existed for
is
like
the-
5 years.
Yeah, why is Bifrost the key? Because I thought the Bifrost was only
Heimdall.
in Asgard.
Yep, only in Asgard.
As far as we know in the MCU. And it literally makes it seem like Stormbreaker's the key, and I understand the dwarf and Endgame was working on this,
Well,
but
you
like
need
this
the
is
plot.
eternity. I thought this was the center of the universe, the first thing.
Mm-hmm. And Stormbreaker's only been around for 5 years. It's
It's
weird. Now that you mentioned that, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that's another problem.
And so he gets Stormbreaker at the end of the fight,
Mm-hmm.
and then he He brings the kids to
Oh
eternity.
God! Don't bring that
It
up.
doesn't make sense.
I hate that. Okay, so now we're finally in the third act. Okay, he takes the kids. He's in this just a chamber, a random chamber, and then there's a key where he puts the Bifrost on the ground and it shoots the Bifrost.
It's not even like a keyhole. He just plants it on the
It's a
ground.
random thing, and then they do more mishandling of Jane's cancer because it's the end of the movie.
Yeah, the hammer's killing her.
Yeah, and Thor takes the lightning bolt of Zeus, transports immediately conveniently to the eternity gates, the gates of eternity.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of kids from Asgard, from New Asgard, just around as hostage. He saves them from a crumbling thing that's falling on them, and then he imbues them
with Thor's power.
Yes.
Because they need to fight a bunch of monsters.
And I take back every negative thing I said about the third act of Endgame because this is the worst army versus army fight I've ever seen.
Dude, like, you can't even see what they didn't even make the monsters, like, you didn't know what they were fighting.
They were just blobs.
You don't know what they're fighting. Like, you don't get a close-up of being, like, a kid scared of the the fight was stupid.
It was awful.
The Thor's on Gore fight.
Fine.
Because Jane Foster
shows up.
She accepts death. Because Thor was going to die.
Yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff. It's very convenient, very MCU. It's very, if you've seen a Marvel ending.
I forgot to say, I love the new hammer. How it splits up. She can, like, split up.
It's cool how
pieces.
it's reforged.
It's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. She can control it. So, yeah, it's cool.
But this is the thing. The third act just reminded me of Shazam. Because I understand this why it's a kids movie. Is like I can see kids seeing other kids get the power of Thor and be like, this is amazing because you're 8, okay?
Yeah, some girl literally like twirled up a monster with her like
bunny.
No, not even the bunny.
Not the bunny.
There was like a girl like dressed up as a princess.
Oh, with a wand.
Yeah, with a wand,
Awful.
and it just sliced the monster.
That girl was like 5. She was 5 years old in the film. It was probably someone's kid.
They totally made this movie for kids.
It was. It was a
why
kids
else would
movie.
The kids had no reason to be there. Gore could have left them wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
Why were they there?
To further the point that Thor cares about these people. He will save these people if it means he kills him. If he dies, he will still save these people. It's weird.
Dude, I did not think about it in the theater, and all it does is piss me off.
Dude, it was a kids movie, and that's why it made me think of Shazam. And Shazam is the ultimate kid superhero because Billy Batson is a kid. Okay, and I cannot believe it, but Shazam actually like landed for me. Like when at the end,
I think it did for most of the audience.
Well, and then at the end, you have his foster family where it's like Darla, who's 6, to all the way to Mary, who's like 18, and they all get imbued with the power of Shazam.
Yeah,
and I totally get. I'm like, dude, if I was a kid and I saw Shazam, I'd be like, well, that's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
In this movie, they imbue just an army of kids, literally no older than 10, with the powers of Thor, and they just do ridiculous things with lightning. And then meanwhile, you have Christian Bale and Chris Hemsworth fighting at the same time.
And it takes away from that fight.
Yep.
That big fight.
It's awful.
Dude.
That was my least favorite part of the movie. Was that when I turned to you in the theater and I said, this is lame? Was it during that scene? There was there was one scene where they took a amusement park ride and made it a ship, and I looked at you and I said, "What am I watching right now?"
Yeah, you did do that.
And then I think it was when
I looked at you. I said, "I told you."
And then there was when the kids got imbued with the power. I'm like, did they think this was good?
Yeah.
And then here's the thing: they finally go to eternity, and then what it is he wishes his kid back to life. For some reason, that kills Gore. Gore dies making this wish.
No, Gore dies because the sword is slowly killing him.
Now I understand. Thank you.
Okay, so the sword, the necromancer, what's it called?
It's a necromancer. Let's just call it that.
Yeah, like
Necroblade.
Necroblade.
They call it, change one syllable.
The sword slowly kills the wielder.
And Jane destroyed the sword.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was, so that's the whole thing of Jane and him, which they could have done more as they both were slowly dying. He even brings it up.
That they're very similar. Their stories.
So, like, I didn't see it as the wish killed him. The sword was killing him.
Now, no, you saved that for me. I didn't understand why he was dying, and then you completely cleared it up. You're
Yeah.
right. But then he wishes his kid back, his daughter, and then looks at Thor because Thor just lost Jane and he's dying. So Gore says, "Take good care of her."
Dude, but like, I thought they were just gonna go the route of Gore wishing for Jane to be okay, and like the cancer is gone because Thor showed him. That's where I thought they were going because I thought he was gonna be like, well, Thor showed me not all gods can be bad.
You're right. The entire movie, Thor has been showing him he's a good god.
Yeah, so I thought he was gonna be like, well, I want Thor to be happy because I want Thor to change the world.
You're right. That would make sense because he literally says, Thor has shown me there is a god worth praising. Him.
Yes.
Not all gods are bad. Have Thor have his happy ending. That would make more sense. But Natalie Portman didn't want to be involved in the Marvel movies anymore. So she came back because, this was my theory, Ragnarok was a critical success.
Yes.
Dark World was not. So after seeing the bad reviews for Dark World, she said, I'm not doing these movies anymore.
Yes.
Then she saw Ragnarok was good, and she's like, I'll come back one more time.
Yeah,
Because
so the last taste in people's mouth.
Exactly. She just wanted a good critical movie to go out on. So
Yeah.
she was not intending to return at all. So the fact that Chris Hemsworth is still around doing this character is insane. He's like the only one left of the originals. And so what it happens is he becomes the surrogate stepfather to
She called him uncle.
uncle. It was a mess. She draws crayons on Mjolnir.
Yeah, to Gore's child because he brings her back because he's like, well, I'm dying. She'll have no one. And then Jane, as she's dying, is like, she won't be alone. I wish Chris Hemsworth, a joke at that point would have been like,
I'm going to do it? You're talking about me?
yeah, like they were going full gag.
You're giving me a kid?
I appreciated that he was serious that entire scene.
Well, now I find it crazy that Gore changed his mind so quickly. He went from every god deserves death to, okay, well,
I wish
I'm going to give this god my daughter to raise.
in other like stories, movies, anything that I can remember right now where the villain has such a vow against the hero being like all heroes are bad type thing. You see them multiple times throughout the story get proven not wrong per se, but like give examples of why our hero isn't what he's saying.
Right.
And he just in all the other stories that I'm remembering, the villain is always like, yeah, but there was never like him doing yeah, but
He wasn't even trying to validate to himself why Thor deserved death.
yeah, it was just
He was just like
kind
gods
of
in general.
ignored. He needed Thor for the key, but
Exactly, but he ignored all his good deeds.
That's weird.
Very weird.
That's weird that they didn't have he never really like interacted with Thor.
Nope. And here's the thing. Okay, so his daughter is
Which
now
is very similar to the Thor: The Dark World villain.
Malekith.
He never interacted with Thor really.
No. Well, but that made more sense because that was a centuries-old feud
Yeah.
between Dark Elves and Asgardians. I know that movie. I like that movie. So when people say Will doesn't like anything, I
No,
like
but,
Dark World.
But like, yeah, that villain worked, but like, he didn't interact with Thor. But he didn't need to. This type of villain needs to interact
Oh, you
with the
definitely
hero.
need to. When you have a
Because
vendetta, yeah.
Again, and someone is proving that vendetta wrong.
You need to acknowledge it.
Because his whole thing should have been like proving that Thor is a bad
Selfish.
god.
Yeah.
Is They could have easily done that,
But-
especially now that Thor's selfish. Thor's been battling his selfishness the entire MCU. That was what the whole first film.
And here's the thing: is Gore even knows that Thor's a good god? Gore knows Thor's a good god because he threatens to kill Jane Foster at one point, and he knows that Thor will not allow her to die.
But that could have been a thing of his selfishness.
After him saying that gods don't care about you,
But that could have been.
he
could have
knows
been-
gods care. He cares about Jane.
But if they made that a point of him saying you're only saving Jane because you love her.
Okay,
this-
yeah, you're right. You're
and
selfish.
Be like you're selfish.
Ah, perfect.
If they just made a point of him trying to beat down Thor, making him feel bad,
Like a false God.
Yeah, because Thor thinks he's a good god.
Right.
So what if he? What
What if he
Gore,
just throws
the
it all back in his face?
Yeah. What if Gore the entire movie was just trying to prove that he is not, or is just like any of the other gods,
And he's lying to himself. That would be perfect. That would actually be good.
And then Thor goes to see Zeus, which in that scene where he sees Zeus, like he was obsessed with Zeus in the start of the scene. At the end of the scene, he hated Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have had that same type of thing where Gore beats him down. Thor doesn't think that high of himself right now, but then goes sees the other gods, and he's like, "Wait, I'm better than this."
Yep. But he even...
And then that kind of would take him out of it, build him back up, and then he goes fight Gore for the final time.
Yep.
Oh my God, this film could have been so much better.
Yep. But so at the end, he's now stepfathering his Gore's daughter,
child.
which is weird because she had laser eyes at one point, so apparently she has powers.
Because she's not the child, really. It's I don't know what she is in the comics. Because remember, they did a Vormir type scene from Endgame.
I know. I'm so sick of seeing those. By the way,
so like when she's walking up, she's eternity.
You're right. Oh, that makes sense. So she is cosmic. Okay,
yes.
That makes sense now.
So
yeah,
that's why she has like
eyes.
godlike powers and can hold Stormbreaker and be fine.
Which was weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
What I didn't like, and it's just because visually, you have Chris Hemsworth there, who's a behemoth of a man. He's on all the supplements you can think of. He is giant, and he has Mjolnir he's fighting with.
Yes.
And then his
because
stepdaughter.
he loves the hammer.
He does love the hammer, but then the stepdaughter has Stormbreaker, which is like twice the size of her. It looks weird. I understand. It's weird, but just switch that and just do that. But here's the thing:
they're being good guy. He's trying to teach her to be a good god.
Exactly. And here's the thing: they're living in a camper. It's revealed that they're on an alien planet, and they're just kind of doing the same thing that he was doing with the Guardians in the beginning, but he's teaching her how to care for life. And then
and he's kind of not doing it out of selfishness.
No, it was kind of weird. I didn't get a tone from it. It was just
because like
it was wacky.
The first like how the first scene with Thor was he was kind of selfishly doing this to have fun, and in the end of the film they could have easily done it where he learned not to be selfish.
Well, that's the thing. After like all this loss and these messages, kind of like the themes of the movie. It's still wacky. It's just wacky Thor and his stepdaughter in a camper. And then they go and save people. They lunge into action, and it is revealed they are known as Love and Thunder. And that's why it's called Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
And then our theater blacked out.
Yes.
At that exact moment. It is
right when they're slashing to the end credits, the theater lost power.
Which is hilarious to me. It's the harshest cut to black I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I was a little annoyed because I wanted to gauge what the audience thought of it, because I was going to hear if there was applause.
Well, I'll tell you, at my first screening, there wasn't much applause. There was like 2 people.
Oh.
But so there were 2 after credit scenes, not that you missed. Not that big of a deal. Zeus is still alive.
Of course.
He says, "Hey, let's make people fear gods again because they don't." Which I don't know why he's saying people. He should have been like, you know what? This Thor guy needs to learn that I'm the baddest around, because Thor was the only
You're
one.
right. It should be a vendetta. It shouldn't.
It'd
Why
be
does
a
he care about
vendetta on
people?
Thor, not a vendetta on people.
Which is weird because no one's been worshiping Zeus for what, like 3,000 years?
Yeah, and then well, we don't know. There's other humans apparently. And then they show Hercules, and Hercules like, yeah.
Do you know who plays Hercules?
No.
I looked it up. It's Brett Goldstein. He's in Ted Lasso, which is just a weird casting to me, but he's a very comedic actor. So Taika Waititi, comedians,
great.
Do with it what you will. But
and then the second scene is Jane Foster goes to Valhalla.
Oh, well, that confuses me because they kept on referencing Valhalla in the movie. Valhalla was a place on Asgard, and Asgard blew up in Ragnarok.
Was it a place on Asgard in the MCU?
Yeah, it's a hall. It's a hall in Asgard.
Well, that could just be another thing they're retconning.
Yeah, they are, because they keep referencing it. And I'm like, it doesn't exist. Sorry, guys. And then the weird thing is too, when you said about the other, because of course I just heard it secondhand. I didn't watch these post-credit scenes, but when Zeus says that we need people to fear gods again, that's the plot of Clash of Titans. You know, the Liam Neeson movie where he's released the Kraken.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. They are apparently making Thor 5. I see on Twitter some people want Taika to return, some people don't.
I want them to go full serious. I want them to do a Last of Us type movie.
Here's the thing. Someone said, I think think I saw Guy Ritchie. Someone talked about it's a random person on Twitter. I love Guy Ritchie. It made me thought. A little piece of movie news right now. Sherlock Holmes 3. I love those movies. They're making a third one. Guy Ritchie's not returning to direct, and I am in mourning. So please.
Wait, they're doing another one?
Yes, I love those movies so
Bringing
much.
back,
Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law.
dude, hell yeah.
I love those movies, but it's Dexter Fletcher. Dexter Fletcher's a fine director. He did Rocket Man, among other things. Eddie the Eagle. He's a good director. But Guy Ritchie, you can't beat. He's my favorite director, and he's not returning for Sherlock Holmes 3. Sad boy noises. It's bad. But, so I don't know if they're going to go for a different director. Personally, I would like them to go for a different director. Honestly, no, if I had my way, don't do a Thor 5. I don't want to do another Thor.
No, they can do a Thor 5. Just be serious. I want a Last of Us type movie.
With Thor?
With him, like, caring for this girl.
Wait. Oh, okay.
Like, where he's, like, this overly protective father figure.
Wow, that's really serious. It's going to be a big...
I wish they could do it, but they can't after the tone of this movie.
No,
but,
after
like,
2 comedies, you
Yeah.
can't do something like Last of Us,
God,
Jacob.
it would be... I want to be emotionally torn. But,
if they do another Thor, just make it be the last Thor. I
yes.
said, this
I
is
think
phase
he's
4.
definitely dying in the next one.
Well, I don't care at this point, if I'm being honest. I don't mean that to sound so cold. I just, look, we're halfway through phase 4. Phase 4 is not hitting for me.
Dude, the Marvel hubris is so big right now. They don't know what they're doing. They're just shooting out stories, knowing everybody's going to
Okay.
go watch them.
Well, here's the thing.
They're going to
Jacob.
get money. This is the peak of Marvel hubris is at the end of my viewing the first time, a couple rows up, there was this dude while the big credits are rolling after the mid-credit scene. No, after the mid-credit scene.
Okay.
So after the Zeus scene, and it's just the, like, black credits. Not the fancy, oh, you didn't see it? There's, like, fancy title cards for everyone.
Oh, man, I love the title cards. I was hoping if that would turn me around on the movie. It wouldn't. But I love title cards.
So in the first viewing, at the end of the mid-credit scene, some dude gets up, because he was in a big group, walks over to a friend, and is like, you know, it wasn't great. It could have been better. But, and then just was being a Marvel apologist the whole time. I'm like, this is what's wrong. Nobody is calling Marvel out for not having a plan right now.
Well,
when their whole thing for the Infinity Saga was, hey, we're going to this point. They didn't make Thanos like the point right off the bat, like with Iron Man, anything. But there was the goal of Phase 1 was to get to Avengers. And then Avengers made the goal of Thanos.
Yep. And you're right. They're not even upset with the lack of direction, even though they tore to shreds and made fun of every other cinematic universe that didn't have a plan. I.e. the DCEU.
Everyone is hating the DCEU right now. Granted, it is a mess right now. I hate Warner Brothers for what they did.
It's just like Phase 4, though. Phase 4 is a complete mess.
Yep.
And everyone's like, well, let's see where they're going. And this is going to be a success.
At least with Marvel, they're putting stuff out.
Fair point.
DC will just not put something out for years.
Fair point. Well, let's not get sidetracked on that, but we will talk about that eventually. But the thing is, Phase 4 is such a mess. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but at this moment, I think my favorite Phase 4 Marvel movie is Shang-Chi. I mean...
You know, like... Yeah, because, like, going into it, you're like, this is a new character. His film doesn't have to progress the MCU
You just need to introduce someone.
Introduce someone new, have a fun story, which they did.
And
it was a little weird in the third act.
We'll talk about it. The third act is bananas, but I enjoyed the other acts of the movie.
But yeah, everything else, Thor movie with the last major, like, big 3 Avenger right now.
Yep.
You would think it would move what's going on in the MCU a little.
Yep.
A little. It didn't at all.
I'm with you entirely. I don't know if I would watch this movie again. This is a pretty rough one.
Like, it just makes me so angry that it didn't move. You have Thor. The Trinity fight in Endgame was Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. And 2 of them are gone.
Well, that's the point. I brought this up before. I think that Endgame should have really retired all 3 of them.
I think so, too. And I think Chris Hemsworth just got stuck because he already agreed to do Thor 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when he's all said and done, I think he's gonna wish he went out with Robert Downey.
Yes. See, here's the thing: Downey and Evans, they went out with a bang, and I
They
think
went out with a bang. Everybody loves their performance. Everybody is like, we want them back. Would do anything to have them back.
you can't see anyone else play those characters.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see anyone else play Thor now.
Yeah, fair enough. Same here, but
he's not gonna go out
with a
the
bang,
same
he's going out
bang
with a
as-
whimper.
And I don't think it's gonna be like a. I don't think it's gonna be a whimper.
Nah, well, I was just being. That's
Yeah.
what usually you hear that.
Compared
That's
to
just
what,
the turn of phrase.
yeah,
I'll
but
take that back. It's not a whimper, but it's not a bang.
It's not the bang that Endgame had for Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. And I think he's gonna regret it. I mean, I don't know the man personally, and he's had a great life. He's very successful, more successful than I'll ever be. So, like, I don't think he's really gonna regret it, but I think he might look back and be like, "Man, that would have been great to go out with the
Boys.
Yeah, because then I think he would, because he is kind of like a founder in the MCU.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's him, Downey, Evans, and Norton, and we'll talk about Norton one of these days.
No, you can't include Norton in that because he didn't stick around.
Oh, Jacob, you cannot do Ed Norton
He
that
didn't
way.
interact with anybody else.
How dare you?
He didn't.
How
I'm
dare
sorry,
you?
So he's not a founder.
Him and William Hurt, Thunderbolt Ross.
He didn't interact with any
He
other Avenger.
Is a founder, Jacob. He was the second Marvel movie.
That's
is a
not even
founder.
on Disney Plus and really hard to watch.
That's because Disney didn't own Marvel at this time. Marvel
I
was their own thing.
understand why. I'm just saying that Disney's not even fighting.
And I'm
to
sorry,
get
did you
on
say it was
Disney
a hard
Plus.
watch? Did you say it was a hard watch?
No, it's hard to watch. Like hard to find to watch.
Oh, okay. Thank you, because I was about to.
Everything else on the MCU is.
We were going to go on for another half hour if you just said it was
everything-
hard to watch.
Everything else on Marvel is very easy to watch because it's all on Disney Plus.
Now, I don't
They're
know.
not even fighting to get Hulk on Disney Plus.
Don't be
they
that
fought
guy.
they fought for Spider-Man to get on Disney Plus. It's getting on Disney Plus next year.
And well, look, if Norton was around, the MCU would be in a better place today.
No, because he would have left after Avengers.
No. We'll talk about it later,
He
Jacob.
would. It was such a weird casting. He's not that kind of guy.
Oh no, you
No,
cannot
like,
say that.
No, I'm saying he was fine as Bruce Banner.
he was
and
the
Hulk.
best Bruce
No,
Banner.
I know. I'm just saying. You know he wouldn't stick around for this entire
If
thing.
they stuck with a better tone,
Nope.
he would have stuck around.
You know he wouldn't.
If it was a better tone and
Nope.
more serious, dude, you watch him in that movie. He's
he
so
hasn't
good.
done anything that takes. Chris Hemsworth has been in this for how many years? 10 years? 12 years? He's not doing a project like that. This sucks up a lot of your time. He likes doing those, like,
More
not indie, but like
Artsy movies.
artsy movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't stick around in the MCU.
I think he would.
No.
I beg to differ. I think he
No.
liked the character.
No, stop fighting for him. You know he wouldn't stay. He might have
I
stayed
think- you
to
know-
Avengers.
Well, Hulk is the most dynamic of comic book characters in Marvel because he literally has a monster living inside of him.
I think that's all heroes, bro.
No.
Batman's got a monster fighting.
Yes, but
inside.
this is a literal monster he
know.
cannot control.
I know.
I can't believe we went on this
All right,
tangent.
let's get
We
off
will
this
talk
tangent.
about Norton one of these days.
Why
because
do we get here?
I don't even know. We'll find out. But thank you for listening.
Oh, we're ending it?
Are we?
I don't know.
Okay, what
You
else?
got anything else to say?
I didn't no.
Movie
I-
sucked.
Movie sucked.
I mean, it was fun. Like, if you want to go with your family.
Dude, I don't know. I would have to be a few
Okay,
shots deep.
you
to
are
like
very
this.
harsh. I mean, it wasn't a good movie. I mean, you're just very. You know what you like. I'm saying you can go watch this film, have a good time the first time, but it's nothing that you're gonna go see again.
I was bracing myself. It didn't exhaust me the way I did. Another thing I wanted to bring up before we
You
close.
were lucky because I told you before we watched the movie, and
Oh,
you had
yes.
someone else tell you that
I had-
you weren't gonna like.
I had
this film.
2 people come up to me and say, "You're not going to like it."
And the only reason I got you in the theater was because I got you a free ticket.
And I thought we were going to keep that on the hush hush, but not. No, but here's the thing: is I wanted to bring this up because as I previously stated, I was more of a DC fan. I believe so was Jacob.
Yes.
And this is how I felt during 2017 when Justice League came out, and I believe Thor Ragnarok came out the same
Yes.
year. And I'm like, geez, Thor Ragnarok has more pizzazz to it than the world's finest of DC,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just depressing to see. I saw it with friends. They were like, "Dude, Justice League sucked." And
No,
I remember
you saw it with me, and
saw it
I
with
was
you.
an apologist.
You were
at
an
the time,
apologist.
and I was like, "No, it's fine."
I was referencing that. I still remember this. It was a mutual friend that also told me I wouldn't like this movie. Is at the very end when you know how the Kent's farm was going foreclosed,
Yeah.
and then they were brought back at the end. And I said to him during watching this at the theater, I'm like, "This is the good part of the movie. This is a good part." And then Clark turned to Bruce and went, "How'd you get the bank to give us the house back?"
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce was like, "I bought the bank." And then immediately he turns to me and he said, "That was the good part. That was the good part." And I felt it, my soul just shrink a little and go like, I can't believe this is how much I love DC, is that I'm like, that'll do. Just that line.
Hey, but this time around, DC got the better end,
And that's-
Batman
yes.
was the better film this year.
And this is what I'm talking about. 4 months ago, we had the Batman.
dude, you know,
And how embarrassing is it that 4 months ago was the Batman, and in that time, Marvel put out the Multiverse of Madness and then Love and Thunder.
had 2 shows come out. Was
Yes.
Moon Knight after the
Yes,
Batman?
Moon Knight and Miss Marvel.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you,
Hubris.
Marvel did a great thing after Endgame for a year, did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm marveled out already, and it's only a year and a half into Phase 4.
But how?
And I am marveled out.
I mean, how embarrassing. The quality of the Batman. I will watch that movie for the rest of my life.
I think
Jake.
they think they can just pump out movies now because they know it's going to make a ton of money.
I know.
Because everyone's going to go see it. Everyone, if you want better Marvel films, just don't go watch them.
Yeah, but like I said, this
Be
already.
will watch them at streaming. They don't make money that way. They make money at the box office. If you want to have better Marvel films, just don't go to the theater like Will.
Yes, be more like me.
Yeah.
I actually got a glowing.
And just wait. Be afraid of spoilers for 2 months.
Oh, I'm actually not afraid of spoilers at all.
I know.
I will look up spoilers.
know.
I do not
I'm
care.
afraid of spoilers.
Really?
If it's like a pop culture thing at the time,
I don't care at all.
I want to be like, I want to experience it for myself.
Dude, I looked up, on the internet, footage of the Illuminati in Multiverse of Madness.
But would you
I
do
didn't
that?
care
Okay,
that much.
You wanted to see the Batman, right?
Yeah.
Would you do it for a film like the Batman that you wanted to see and are excited to see? Would you look up something?
Touche. You got me there. I
If
I
it-
actually
yeah.
did not want that spoiled for me.
Yeah. So if it's you just don't like Marvel, so you don't
Well,
care.
there are very few things in life that I don't care about spoilers. I will say that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't care. I mean, I would look up spoilers for Disney, Star Wars, no problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very specific thing. Game of Thrones, I'll look up spoilers for that. I didn't care about that. I mean, I'm wondering if there's something else on my radar that I'm like, no, don't tell me, because the Batman
All right.
looks so good.
Hold on, we're getting off on a tangent.
We are.
We need to end this.
Okay, Jacob's putting a pin in it. Jacob, you want to do the
Yeah.
outro?
Go see Thor if you want to.
No. You just said don't see Thor.
No, you can go see it if you want to, but
Jacob.
hold on, brace yourselves. Just like I braced Will.
Yes, you
brace
may not
yourself.
like it.
It's not a top. I think it's. I mean, you like Thor: The Dark World, but I think it's not better than Thor 3. It's not better than Thor 1.
Oh, would you do? Okay, I would say probably bottom 5 Marvel for me.
I don't know about that,
Bottom half.
and I don't want to sit here and think for 5 minutes. But
Okay.
yes, it's definitely bottom half.
Bottom half.
It's not a good film. I mean, like, it's a fun summer movie to go watch with friends if you can go get the ticket for cheap, or if you just want to wait for it to come to Disney Plus.
I would recommend that.
Yes,
I would recommend
you
Disney
don't,
Plus.
You, that's the thing with Marvel now. You don't need their whole thing was before. You need to go see the movie in theaters before it gets spoiled because something big happens. The post-credit scene someone shows up in the post-credit scene that's, wow, I can't believe they're doing that. And this whole phase is just like, what are we doing? Jeez, Marvel, get your stuff in line. Figure it out. Let's just end it.
All right. Like, comment, subscribe.